Welcome back to part 2 of our Care to Talk podcast, Balancing the Middle Ground. We're back here with our guests, Jacinta and Daphne. We talked about how being close to your staff is actually one of the advantages of your position, but that proximity can also cause some conflict because ultimately you are still their boss when it comes to certain things. If there are difficult situations or maybe someone is underperforming or has made a mistake, you now have to deal with that as well.
Yes. For myself, I've been in a situation probably a year to 2 years ago. Likewise, one of the staff wasn't performing, and you kind of had to break the news, or rather have a conversation with the staff to tell the staff that, hey, I would just like to kind of check in with you for a while. Do you have a minute? And then you bring the staff away for probably a casual chat and somewhere far away from the office. And that was probably one of my hardest conversations that I had to do in a position of a manager. And it was difficult because the staff had the impression that everything was fine. No one tells me that I'm not performing. Even though it's quite evident that, deadlines are not met, or rather they are met, but they are not met on time. So in a workplace like healthcare where every minute counts, even though we are at the administrative portion back-end area, there's still certain timelines that you cannot say, I like to do it today, I do it today, because it's not on my priority one list. And you got to make that clear to the staff to kind of let the staff understand that what needs to be done. And it was difficult because the conversation ended up not too bad. But I felt very bad when I had to exit the room after I was done with the conversation. Because as a manager who is dealing with a difficult conversation, I didn't know whether I was doing it right to a certain extent. My tone was neutral. There wasn't it wasn't like how I discipline my 5-year-old at home and said, hey, you're doing this wrong and, you're naughty corner, so on and so forth. Because they're all adults here. And it's difficult. And I remember this moment because the next day I went to my boss' office and I told my boss that it's a very difficult position. When I had to do that conversation, I felt so bad and I didn't know whether I was doing it right. And I mean, the staff obviously didn't feel good. While even though the next day work came in as per normal, we started work on time. We did a casual check-in, but staff was okay, didn't say much. But it kind of left that aftertaste of that conversation yesterday. And it was something that till now, it's always a lesson that I have to kind of, it's like chapter 101. You kind of need to go through it first, and eventually when a similar scenario comes by again, you kind of remember that first conversation that you had, right? And you kind of remind yourself, say, hey, try to like make it a bit not so, I don't know whether there's a good word to use it, not so tense, not so negative to a certain extent. But there's just some things that you don't sugarcoat it, because when you sugarcoat this kind of conversations, the staff is not going to get it. And it's always a hard truth that hurts. Thereafter, my boss gave me tips, but I remember her telling me as well, that's part and parcel of being a manager. You kind of go through it, because there wouldn't be 100% good conversations every day. There'll be conversations that you don't like. You will dislike it. But nonetheless, it's part and parcel of my scope.
There's no choice.
Yeah, it's not exactly a choice.
What it brings to mind for me is this idea of, in order to have really good performance from your team, right? You need two things. So you need to demand that they perform to expectations, right? You can't just be nice to people. So you need to challenge them and in a direct way, not sugarcoating things. Because as you said, sometimes people don't want to hear it and they just need to be told. And as their supervisor, you're actually doing them a favor because no one should be kind of underperforming for years and then suddenly asked to leave and then they say they had no idea. So this is actually part of the role. But at the same time, because you care about your staff, that's where the tension is. If you really didn't, there would be no problem with this conversation. But you also wouldn't really get that much out of the staff member. Because if you just went in and said, that's it, you're not good enough, send it back. This person's probably not going to last very long in your team. They're not going to be motivated to grow, to change, because they're not going to feel supported.
It's too transactional.
Yes, absolutely.
It's very transactional.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think hitting that right note between caring, but also challenging and not just letting things go is probably the sweet spot. Yeah, which is definitely going to be a work in progress.
Yeah,
I
we're all
think
trying to find that
there's
sweet
no
spot.
one who's going to say that they've got it set.
So this year for AH Pharmacy, right? So we launched what we call the workplace coaching. Okay, so it was aimed to help the department in terms of the softer skills. Clinicians, right? You tend to be good at the clinical work, but the softer side of the human touch in terms of the managerial roles is a little bit tougher. Even if you take the skills as a teacher, as an educator, as a mentor, and so on and so forth, right? The softer skills are usually the ones that are a little bit harder to teach. So this year we actually launched workplace coaching for AH Pharmacy department, right? And what we did was we included difficult conversations, psychological safety, when you want to open up. And the most important thing in the whole workshop was actually about workplace coaching. So not mentoring, but workplace coaching. So it was a very distinct thing between being a mentor and workplace coaching per se. So one of the things that we did was also, other than the typical clinician, you must have a lecture first, right? Then you do the role plays, and then we make them come in terms of the difficult conversations and things like that. So we role played that because in an everyday life where you take students, it might not be a colleague, it might be a student and whatever else. Like, these conversations are really crucial. It's really core what you do almost on a daily basis. So we went through in terms of the principles of how coaching is and what coaching does. And for underperforming or staff not performing to what they should be, right? If you wear the coach hat, the time needed to be spent is intense, right? It's really, really intense. It's not going to be the 5-10 minutes. Hey, what are you doing? Are you okay? And then you walk past. But it's that investment in the time and the effort to ask them, but what was it? What is it? It's something else that's bothering, that is hindering you, especially if they are doing good. Then they come, nah. And then when they stay down, that's where you go, something is just not quite there. And what is that? So I do think that, the coaching mentality, the coaching method for me, and hopefully for the team as well, will really work in terms of having these very, very difficult conversations. So then I saw the difference when I used that method, with my team, with colleagues, with students. And that really helped to see how we can bridge that difficult conversation now. But there was a lot of awkward silence, and the being taught part was also very awkward, because you're so used to going, what's wrong? Why aren't you doing this? And why would you not be doing this? That tone versus let them come and tell you, and when they really reflect and dig really deep, that's where the insights really come across.
Yeah, because I think we all, well, how come like that? Why are you doing it? But we're not actually asking why. What we're actually saying is you better do that better. Whereas when we're talking about the coaching mentality, we're really being curious about what that is, so that whatever we suggest or whatever intervention we put on is targeted towards. Yeah. Well, it's great that AH has embarked on this journey, and I think that's actually organization-wide, this understanding that it's difficult to do the role that you do, and we need to equip our staff to do that. So I want to talk about something that's really topical, and it comes up all the time when we talk about well-being, the generational divide. without being ageist and all that. I think we definitely see it in the workplace. I'm not even going to ask you whether you do. I know we do.
Yep.
And that's because we have people at our workplaces all the way from, fresh grads, new joiners in their 20s to people, I won't reveal ages here, but, millennials, Gen X, and then up to the senior leadership and, who are probably
Baby boomers.
Wow.
And there's so many stereotypical descriptions of the differences, but there's a good reason for that. We really do see a lot of tension, right? They just don't get it. How come they can talk like that? It's and it causes a lot of issues because it divides us rather than connecting us.
Yes.
What have you done to try to bridge that?
I would have to say it was tough because there was that, that prejudgment in already, right? We were, oh Lord, we're dealing with them again, and that judgment was actually really horrible of me. Terrible. Can you imagine if they judged me on what she's doing? So when I turned that around, going, I don't want to be seen that way. Why would I want to see them, in that way? Okay, so that was one. That wake up call was tough though for me to reach that. But what I did was mindset. Really, really, really was the mindset change. Like I don't want to be judged, and don't do that to them. And then when we sat down, on your casual conversations or whatever the topic was, right? And I asked them on maybe a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-few, right, smaller group. Hey, what do you really think of the situation or the idea or whatever things it is, right? And really, really listen, like what you said just now, really curious and listen, and not listen with an end in mind that I'm going to influence you to come onto my side. But when they come with their perspective, their outlook, right? It actually changed what I was going to say or do or my end decision, whatever that was going to be, right? Because they're going to be the leaders in the future, right? And why not start with their ideas or rather maybe their train of thoughts or incorporate something. If we really was curious, they really not bad ideas at all, right? And implementation strategies, right? Implementation strategies, because they are the ones that are implementing your ideas or the senior management's roll down ideas, missions and goals, right? They are the ones that are actually helming it. Yeah. So the idea and the end goal was still intact. It was still there. They really kept it. And when they could see, they really, really was all hands and heart in. Yeah. But it was just the journey there. There's no loss to anyone, actually. And in fact, it was less stressful on everybody, where we could accept openly the ideas. And if some were really bizarre. So I really had to, one step by one step went through with them. But it is effortful. It is effortful, but you kind of move a lot of initial hurdles along the way. You move it away. And it was less stressful overall. There's definitely going to be that stress, right? Because it's whatever that you need to do. Yeah. The stress doesn't move away, but that interpersonal tension or that generational tension moves away a lot more. They just needed to see differently. Like, I need to see their point and they need to see why this old fart here wants certain ways and certain things of doing things, right? Yeah, so when they saw it, they went, oh, actually, I've never thought of it that way. Like we asked them how they have to talk to patients. And they're talking to patients like, hey, you're my next door neighbor. Like, yeah. But they don't understand why, because they're taught, treat your patients as your own. Like, okay, but that's a line to be drawn, like, so these are the things that,
I mean, just to add on to what Daphne has said, I mean, equally, everywhere faces that generational tension. But I think to a certain extent, apart from the mindset, opening up the mindsets to see how the different perspectives actually move towards the both generations, you kind of also look at the fact that there's this underlying mutual respect somewhere along the line where, I recognize that you are Gen Z. No, I won't tell myself old. I'll recognize them as Gen Z, and you want to kind of give them that space. However, at the same time, you need to let them understand that I give you that respect. It's an exchange that I hope you are giving me that same respect as well. And the fact that we are all here just to get things going. And it's all for the aim of our patients, for the fact that we're in healthcare, there's a calling, that's for sure. And no one is trying to get someone down because you are older, you are younger, or out of the fact that, because you're much older than I do, I'm just giving you respect. And that's about it, kind of thing. So
that's empty respect, don't you think?
Yes,
so?
yes.
Right? It's just
so
empty.
while the mindset thing moves in together, I suppose along the way, mutual respect does help to bridge that generational gap in one way or another. As in, we respect that there's different views from each generation, but we don't go in every day arguing over the fact whether, my idea works better, your idea not so good.
I think the respect has to be rooted in the fact that we have a common goal.
Yep.
And we have common values that underpin them. Yep. How we get there could be different. The way we talk to each other, the way we strategize and operationalize is going to be really different. But actually, that's a strength, because we don't all want to do things the same way, right? We want to innovate, and we also want to draw on the experience of people who have come before us.
Yes.
Even though I think it's hard for the older generation too, as they see things change so quickly and they feel like they're being left behind. There is so much experience that they have to share. If only we can remember to ask. So having that mutual respect and values. And realizing, we don't need to be best friends, right? But we can be a great team.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're actually bringing everything together.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right.
This has been such an interesting conversation. I just want to finish off with one last question. If you had one short piece of advice for your younger self, what would that be?
For myself, slow down. Because I think the younger self in me, we used to think that we are young, right? So can Cheong.
I still do.
We are all still young. Just that the younger version of myself used to we are still very much young, right? So just Cheong and do whatever it is. But as we progresses to this role and also at wherever we are now, I realize more time could be given to ourselves. And that's where the me time self-care and thing comes in, to balance it between work and personal life. That's why for myself, if I were to tell myself something in my younger self, slow down.
I would say, don't worry, you will still get there. Regardless of whether you're slow or you're fast, it doesn't matter. Don't lose yourself. Nothing.
Thank you so much. We could chat forever, honestly. We really hope that you have enjoyed this conversation. Our speakers have been so generous and so candid. And I think some of the takeaways that well-being is not just about personal resilience. We do need to take steps for ourselves, but we also need people around us, and we need the organization to support us. Every single person actually really plays a part. So if you enjoyed this conversation and the rest of our series, please do share it with your friends, with your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.